Good evening and welcome to the City of Roswell Mayor and City Council meeting for Monday the 8th, July 8th, 2024. I am Mayor Kurt Wilson. Let me try this again. I'm Mayor Kurt Wilson. I've obviously grown in the stature of my voice since the last council meeting, as you can tell. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge and introduce my colleagues and council members present. Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Lee Hills, Councilmember David Johnson, Councilmember William Mortland, and Councilmember Alan Sells. At this time, I will now turn the meeting over to our city administrator, Mr. Randy Knighton. Mr. Knighton will explain how our mayor and city council meeting is run. Thank you, Mr. Knighton.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome to everyone, and we certainly appreciate your attendance this evening. In accordance with Section Chapter 3.70 of the City Code, the City Council shall hold regular public meetings, and the purpose of City Council meetings are for the public to participate and speak on agenda items which constitute formal decisions by the elected body. These items are listed on the published agenda, which can be accessed via the city website prior to the meeting. This is a public meeting, and some items do require a formal public hearing. A significant and important component of City Council meetings are to hear directly from residents on the items listed on the agenda. Residents are at the top of the organizational chart, therefore public comments or questions are essential for mayor and council to incorporate as they contemplate each decision. If you would like to speak on an item, we ask that you fill out a comment card, which can be found at the back of the room in order to ensure an accurate record of the meeting. We ask, of course, that everyone observe the principles of mutual respect and display the appropriate demeanor during the course of the meeting this evening, which should be and is reflective of this great community. With respect to the proceedings, we ask that attention is given to the person speaking, and if it is necessary for anyone to have an independent conversation, we respectfully request that you exit the rear doors of the council chambers to the vestibule area outside. In addition, we ask that you silence any electronic devices at this time. The mayor is the presiding officer for the meeting and will ensure the orderly exchange of comments, questions, and discussion leading to decisions by the elected body. We encourage everyone in attendance and the viewing audience to visit the city website for meetings, events, and departmental information. We also encourage everyone to review and participate in the various activities and offerings in the city, which can be found on Roswell365.com. And there are a number of events scheduled upcoming in the city that will be discussed shortly, along with other announcements, which promote community, physical activity, and leisure, as we all make Roswell the #1 family community in America.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. You've added some new stuff to your repertoire there. There's some new items. I kind of like hearing that. We're gonna keep adding more. It's kind of fun. All right, we are very blessed tonight to have David Patterson from St. Andrew's Catholic Church. And so at this time, I'd like to ask the Reverend David Patterson from St. Andrew's Catholic Church to come forward and lead us in our moment of silence and invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, esteemed council members. Let us pray in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Good and gracious God, as we convene this evening, we recognize you as the source of wisdom and justice. Today, our world is rife with so much conflict. So we ask you to bless these leaders everywhere, leaders of nations, of states, and communities, particularly those gathered here today. Grant each an abundance of prudence as they serve the people, trusting in their ability to serve the common good of all. Help them discern how best to use the various resources entrusted to them. May their decisions be a source of growing unity rather than cause further division and animosity between peoples. May they rather embody a spirit of cooperation as they tackle the challenges of governing well. May those of us who are not in positions of governance realize the challenge they face each day. May we also recognize the simple truth contained in the axiom, perfection is the enemy of good. Let us accept compromise, incremental improvements rather than an unattainable ideal. Let us pause for a moment, allow prior disagreements to fade as we ponder our inherent shared humanity. And from this fundamental realization, we give you thanks and praise through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Thank you, Deacon David Patterson of St. Andrew's Catholic Church. Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to ask United States Marine Corps Corporal Jesse James Cash to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Corporal Cash. At this time, I'm going to ask you to stay right up there, and I'd like to ask the Council of City of Roswell to come down and join me for the first item under the Mayor's Report, which is a reading of the proclamation for the Esteemed Veteran of Roswell Award. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor, Corporal E4 Jesse James Cash, Esteemed Veteran. Whereas the City of Roswell proudly honors the exemplary service and dedication of Jesse James Cash, who selflessly served our nation as a corporal in the United States Marine Corps. And whereas Jesse James Cash enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1998 at the age of 18, embarking on a journey of courage and commitment. And whereas he completed his basic training at the esteemed Parris Island, South Carolina, where he honed his skills and prepared for the challenges ahead. And whereas Corporal Cash served in the Military Occupational Specialty MOS 1833 as an assault amphibious vehicle crewman, a critical role in ensuring the success of Marine operations. And whereas he underwent specialized training, including AAV school, earning a green belt in the Marine Corps Martial Art Program MCMAP, and completing military operations in urbanized terrain training MOUT, showcasing his dedication to continuous improvement and excellence. And whereas Corporal Cash's service was recognized with numerous awards and decorations, including the Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, and the Overseas Service Ribbon, reflecting his outstanding performance and unwavering commitment. And whereas after his honorable separation from active duty in 2002, Corporal Cash continued his pursuit of excellence by obtaining a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology from the University of Massachusetts, UMass, demonstrating his dedication to personal growth and development. And whereas Jesse James Cash exemplifies the highest standards of the Marine Corps, with his service achieving the rank of E4 Corporal, and has continued to lead and serve his community with distinction as the Water Operations Manager for the City of Roswell. And whereas under his leadership, the City of Roswell received the 2024 Water Treatment Plant of the Year Award, and Jesse Cash has been selected to receive the 2024 Operators Meritorious Service Award, further recognizing his exceptional contributions to water management and community service. And now, therefore, I, Curtin Wilson, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim Corporal E4 Jesse James Cash an esteemed veteran of Roswell, and extend our deepest gratitude and admiration for his service, sacrifice, and steadfast commitment, and call upon all our citizens to recognize his outstanding service to our country and our community, and that there is no higher calling than those who've served in the United States Armed Forces. Congratulations, sir. Jesse, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for this proclamation. I'm happy to be included in this group of esteemed veterans, the ones that came before me and the ones that are going to come after me. and thoroughly enjoyed my career here at the City of Roswell, being the Water Operations Manager, and hope to continue it and keep winning awards.
Absolutely. Well done. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, sir. All right, well, we gotta get some pictures. Come on, that's like family right there. You want a family? Come on, Chris. Come on. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. I'm coming right back. Thank you, Steve. Well, maybe I'm not. You're right.
Oh, we have to do a swearing in, don't we?
We do.
You go back.
You guys probably know and have heard many occasions on how good the water is in the city of Roswell. We actually have it here at City Hall. I don't have it at my home, unfortunately. It's serviced by Fulton County. Nothing wrong with that. But about 30% of our residents are served by the city of Roswell's water treatment system. And it is our goal and objective. Sharon Izo, Deputy City Administrator, one of her aspirations is for this entire city ultimately to receive water from the city of Roswell itself, because they are really par excellence and set the standards not only in the state but in the Southeast. And all cities should be so lucky as to be served by people like Corporal Jesse James Cash. All right. So the next item on the mayor's report is the announcement of Sinatra Gates' reappointment to the Roswell Housing Authority, which is a direct appointment from the mayor. So I'm tickled to death that we are reappointing Sinatra. She's accepted this for some reason, and for some reason, I don't know why, but we're really pleased, and she's done 4 great years of service in the RHA. And so at this time, I'm going to ask Sinatra to come forward, and we're going to do an oath for the next 4 years. You ready? All right, let's do it. Yes. Sinatra. Sorry for screwing up your name. Here, I'm gonna stand on this. Oh, I can do this here. Let's do it here. I like this. This is better. Oh yeah, you get one. Do I get one? Okay. Right hand up, left hand on the Bible. Here, I'm gonna stand on this. You make it so it's always easier when I stand over to this ledge. You put your hand on the Bible, put your right hand up. Left hand on the Bible. We'll take our time on this because everybody screws this up, especially me, Shanika. All right, this is for the oath of office for the state of Georgia, county of Fulton, city of Roswell. You good to go? I state your name.
I, Sinatra Gates,
Solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Georgia,
and the state of Georgia,
and that I will in all respects
and that I will in all respects
observe the provisions of the Charter
observe the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of the city of Roswell,
and ordinance of the city of Roswell,
and I will well
and I will well
and truly perform
and truly perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Roswell Housing Authority,
of Roswell Housing Authority,
and that I will, to the utmost of my skill
and I will, to the utmost of my skill
and ability, endeavor to promote the interest and property
the interest and property
of said city
of said city
without fear,
without fear,
favor,
favor,
or affection.
or affection.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Lee, you know, when you get a name in your head and you just can't get it unstuck. So congratulations. I think, Shanitra, 4 more years on the Housing Authority. We're so glad you're there, though. Thank you. Thank you for our service to our community, and thanks for all that you do. People don't realize, one, that we have a housing authority, and two, they don't realize how much work it is and how much responsibility there is for the people on the board. And you've been there for the last 4 years and done yeoman's work. Thank you so much, and I'm tickled to death you're going to do it again. Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to say on the record that we could not have a finer board member. She is a resident representative, a stellar parent, and a friend to everyone in the city, but particularly in the Roswell housing community. And I'm so proud of you. I know that this was a lot to tackle. There's a lot of legalese. I've been not walking with you. I've been beside and trying to catch on, but since I was elected, and I'm proud to support what's going on at the Roswell Housing Authority, and it gives me great comfort, Shanitra, to know that you are staying on with us with a great team, and I expect to see great things. So thank you for putting your heart into everything and kindly working with the residents that have needs that they're not plugged in like you are. So it's a big deal, and you're a huge liaison to this body, and I couldn't be more proud. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee. And Lee, that's a great segue for you to the upcoming events in the city of Roswell.
Well, all right. Okay, well, there's a lot going on. If you'd like to have a snapshot before you go to bed tonight, hit www.roswell365.com. As you've heard me say before, we are always looking for new, interesting activities going on. If you have something going on in your community, something going on with your nonprofit or one that you're affiliated with, a school, a place of worship, or something new just in your neighborhood that you'd like to advertise to the community and put on here, you can create a quick, free login account and then post your information, and we'll keep it on there up until the date, and then it gets pulled off as soon as it's expired. So I encourage you to check roswell365.com frequently. Want to tell you that we are continuing through the end of this month. Juneteenth, our freedom. This is a celebration to honor freedom and culture. It's an exhibit at the Roswell Cultural Arts Center, right down the hill from here, featuring the collective works of African Americans for the Arts, which is AFTA, A-A-F-T-A. The exhibit runs through July 31st. If you haven't dropped in the lobby, please do. Fantastic work, local artists. Personally, the portraits are amazing. You should go step in. If you've got a minute, not tonight, they're closed right now, but during the day, stop in, pop in, take a look around. Some of the pieces are for sale as well. Also, reoccurring event, Music on the Hill. This free concert series takes place the second Friday of each month, May through September, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on City Hall grounds right out here, and it's always well attended, always fun, and I encourage you to bring a snack and a tailgate chair and come enjoy the festivities. Music on the Hill is July 12th. And this one is featuring Risky Biscuit. And get ready to spread out your blanket on the lawn, unpack your picnic, and unwind by listening to some of the best live music in Atlanta. A food truck will be on site, and adult beverages are available for purchase. Also, Sundays in the Park is also a free outdoor concert series held in Roswell Town Square, newly renovated, by the way, our most historic town square, the original place. Beautiful, that grass is like the White House lawn, and the granite edging is superb. So please go check that out. That is also, let's see, Roswell Town Square and Riverside Park on select Sundays from May through October. Concerts start at 5:30. Those are also very well attended. Bring your tailgate chair, your favorite foods, beverages, and enjoy an evening of music and camaraderie. The next event is July 14th. So you've got July 12th to be out and about at Music on the Hill, July 14th for Roswell Town Square, Sundays in the Park. And then coming up shortly thereafter, July 18th, is the next Alive in Roswell. That's every third Thursday, April through October. So we are in the heat, literally, of things with the most fantastic festival in the Southeast. So that will be July 14th, starts at 5:30. Come visit friends, meet new ones, have a bite to eat, and enjoy music. We're, of course, in the parking lot from the Antique Mall. There's a band there, some vendors showing off some wares, local artists, some local vendors, and of course our Roswell Historical Society and the City of Roswell have tents there as well. So stop in and see what they've got. And then finally, Roswell Riverside Sounds. We got a lot of music. Riverside Park, every fourth Saturday, April through September. That's at 7:30. And the next one is July 22nd with Rizzy Palmer, whose versatility spans country music and R&B, offering a soulful musical experience blending various genres of popular music into what she terms Southern soul. So again, if you can't remember all that, check out Roswell365.com, plug in some dates or Riverside Sounds, Music on the Hill, Alive in Roswell, and you will have the time of your life coming up. So hopefully we'll see you this month out and about.
You know what we forgot to do?
Do tell.
We forgot to get a picture.
With Shanitra.
Yes. So let's
Okay.
take the council down. Shanitra, you got to come back if you don't mind, please, ma'am. Theodore, quick picture for the council.
Maybe we should have Chair Donzel come as well? We can do one with, one without.
Love it.
Come on, sis. You can decide.
Thank you, guys. That's okay. Troop 986, is that right? No. 985? Where are you guys from? Well, we're so glad you're here. Welcome. Thanks for being here at the council. 995 is here as well? 955. What do you say? 955. 955? And where's 955 from? Outstanding. We're glad you're here. Thanks.
And another one, Mount Pisgah.
Mount Pisgah representing. Well done. 629? Outstanding. Thank you for being here with us, guys.
A
We
horseshoe bender, might I add.
appreciate- Okay,
Yeah,
well,
an
there-
east sider came all the way over here. Can you believe it?
well done. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks so much, mom and dads and scouts. We appreciate you being here and joining us. Thank you. All right, that is it for the mayor's report. Next is the consent agenda. Does council have any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda? Being that there are none, do any of our Roswell residents have any comments or questions on the consent agenda? Being that there are none, I bring it back to council for any final comments. Being none, do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Councilmember Beeson. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Sells. All those in favor of passing the consent agenda tonight, please raise your hands. Let the record show that the consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is the regular agenda, and Councilmember Mortland, who is also the pro tem and probably the most ambitious of all the other elected officials up here, will read the first item under community development. Councilmember Mortland.
Yes, sir. Item number 1, 2023-505 and 2024-1822. This is 1293 Mininet Drive, revision to the approved site plan. This afternoon, we received a request for a deferral from the builder to the next mayor and council meeting on July the 22nd.
Willie, would you like to make a motion to defer on this item?
Motion to defer 2023-5005 and 2024-1822. for 1822, 1293 Minonette Drive, revision to the approved site plan to the next mayor and council meeting on July the 22nd.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Northland. Is there a second for that motion? Seconded by Councilmember Hills. And by the way, you read minuet incredibly well. All those in favor of deferring this item to the next city council meeting, I believe you called for it, right? The deferral was very specific. Was the next one 2 weeks from now? All in favor, please raise your hands. Let the record show that the deferral is unanimous. Thank you very much. Also on the regular agenda, the second item is under community development. Councilman Northland, would you read the next item under community development, please?
Yes, sir. Number 2, CU 2024-0905. This is 200 Sussex Court, Carriage Pool House, presented by Ms. Jackie Dybel.
Welcome, Jackie.
Good evening. Actually, Ms. Rambo is going to be presenting this, but before we do that, I wanted to introduce our new Planning and Zoning Director, Jeannie Payton. Thank you. And Ms. Rambo will be presenting this item.
Thank you, Jackie. And then thanks for properly scolding me for failing to do it. Welcome, JD. I don't want you to feel any pressure, but I want you to know that the council is counting the minutes, and they're trying to beat their all-time record for getting out of here. Thanks, Jeannie. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna do this the old-fashioned way. So, good evening, Mayor and Council. Let's see. Okay, so this petition is stated 200 Sussex Court. It's a request for conditional use for 875 square foot carriage house. The property is approximately 1 acre in size, zone RS 30. The property includes a single family house, a detached garage, and a swimming pool. The site plan, well, pictured here is the aerial showing the surrounding property. For reference, this is the zoning, RS 30. And the site plan showing all the items that I just described. You also see the proposed carriage house, which is labeled as pool house on the site plan. Community Development Department recommends approval with conditions of this conditional use request. The recommended conditions are as follows. The carriage house shall only be occupied by family members and shall not be rented out. The property owner shall plant evergreens along the rear property line in order to screen the carriage house from the adjacent property. And on their June 18th meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the conditional use as well. That concludes staff presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Angela, so much. Does council have any thoughts, comments, or questions on the matter at hand? Councilmember Johnson?
If the recommendation for the carriage house only be occupied by family members passes tonight, what happens if this lot is sold? Would that carry on to the next owner, or would that next owner be able to rent the house?
The variance, I believe, will stay with the property.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Beeson?
I'm not sure if this is a question for Ms. Rambo or Mr. Davidson. The way that it's currently written in our code is the way we define single-family homes. I believe it's already within our definition of the occupant of a single-family house shall only be occupied by that family or single family. So you wouldn't be able to subdivide and rent out other portions of the property. Is there a reason why this would need to be explicitly spelled out in the conditions and would not be applicable based off our current code?
So the reason why we added this as a condition was because the applicant stated it at the planning commission meeting, indicating that he would not rent it out. So staff put this in as a condition specifically due to the fact that the applicant stated that at the meeting.
Understood. And then, again, back to Councilmember Johnson's point, with the understanding that this property could transfer ownership at any point in time, and we do not have those same standards applied to other carriage houses within the community, is that going to create a different standard for policy?
So our definition of family is up to 3 unrelated people could live in a house. So you could actually have unrelated people living there. So this would be making so it would only be a family member. So it's a little bit different than our definition of actual family.
So it would be a stricter standard than our
Right.
code?
Correct.
And so would that make enforcement difficult during transfer of ownership, given the fact that it's not compliant with the rest of our code?
So it would be difficult, yes.
Okay, so with that, that's what I expected, because it's not consistent with the rest of our code and how we typically implement it. I understand that the applicant is not wanting to put non-related members within the household, and that's great, more power to them. I do worry about enforcement later on if transfer of ownership happens later on down the road, and I'm sure it eventually likely will, years down the road. So with that, I do have some concerns about having items within conditions or within our code that are not as enforceable or deviate from what we normally would implement.
Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from council? If not, I'll ask any Roswell residents if they'd like to weigh in on the matter. Oh, is the applicant here? Would you like to make a presentation, sir?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name's Nick Walter, my wife Susan. We're proposing a 875 square foot, I call it a pool house, so it's for our family only. And my mother is 79, it'll be for her as well. She has macular degeneration. We have no intentions of renting the pool house out. We have 2 young daughters. It'll be for family only, and I did the letter of intent, which it states for family use only. And then the staff recommended the trees, which I was gonna do anyways. I'm gonna put some 10-foot green giants all along the back. There's already some cryptomeras on Don's property, but I'm gonna add to it, make a nice screen. And the home has been in our family since 1977. We have no intentions of selling. We'd like to pass it to our daughters one day. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you and appreciate your coming before here and making a little presentation. Thank you, sir. All right, council's already weighed in. I'm going to ask if any Roswell residents would like to weigh in. Yes, sir? Welcome.
Thank you.
Make sure you share everybody what your name is and where you live in Roswell.
Absolutely. My name is Don Rotolo, and I live right behind the subject property at 205 Waverly Hall Place. Of course, it's in Roswell. I'm here to speak in favor of the application, even though I'm, let's say, the most affected, arguably the most affected neighbor, but I asked for some accommodations. I understand that the applicant has met all the legal requirements, so this body is obligated by law to approve the application, although reasonable conditions may be imposed. I'd like to ask this body to confirm that the conditional use conditions as recommended by staff, namely a rental restriction and evergreen screening, are also binding on future owners of this property. Are they? Are they? Question for you.
It's your time to comment, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't get answers. Okay. Well, if it is, then I only have a final comment on the UDC. But if it's not, I ask you to add to the conditions for this application that neither this nor any future owner may rent the property to an unrelated third party. Or I know that the family definition, as council has mentioned, and Ms. Beeson brought up some interesting comments, and also that the evergreen screening must be maintained as long as the ADU exists. Carriage house is an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit. But if it cannot be enforced, as Ms. Beeson may have said, then I ask that the UDC changes I'm about to discuss include the ability to apply these types of conditions to future. One thing I would like to show is this image taken from my backyard to the fence. The proposed unit is going to be pretty far away from this fence. You can kind of see like a little pile of dirt in front of the RV there. That's about where it's going to be, about by that black fence you can see. So it's really not like on my property line. It's okay. But I also want to note that it's a fairly new RV. They haven't had it for very long. And the screening that they're proposing to put in there and that you want to put in as a condition would also satisfy the requirements of UDC section 9.7.22 RV parking, which requires that RVs parked need to be screened. It's not at this time, but I suspect that the screening they're going to put on will easily satisfy that requirement. So to summarize, I ask for the staff recommended conditions for this application be made binding on future owners. So I want to speak briefly, because this concerns UDC section 3.2.1. This is going to be the very first carriage house conditional use approved in our 260 dwelling RS30 neighborhood, including Waverly Hall. I determined this by searching Fulton County tax records, which do not show any other recognized ADUs. If anyone has any factual information to refute this, I'd like to examine it. Allowing ADUs in the RS30 zone is absurd. AG 43, RS 87, big properties, but on smaller lots, it irreversibly alters the character of the neighborhood, going from single family to multifamily, and dramatically increases density. How does one determine if the neighborhood character is in danger of being altered? Simple. Just ask yourself, what would be the impact if everyone did it? Just meet the requirements of where it has to be situated and the size of it on the land, and it has to be approved. Otherwise, it's arbitrarily and capriciously designed. Remember that everyone in RS30, if they meet the requirements as this applicant has, can add a rental to their property. Is that okay with this mayor and council and with the rest of the town? I hope not. Therefore, I humbly ask that the mayor and council support the planning board in studying and updating Roswell's UDC pertaining to accessory dwelling units as soon as feasible. My ideal outcome would be the removal of carriage house as an acceptable conditional use in section 3.2.1 in at least the RS30 zone. But failing that, the rental requirement. That's really the big one. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Mr. Ruffino, thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments and your preparation. No, sir. Any other Roswell residents who would like to address this matter? No, sir. Any other thoughts or comments from the council? Michelle, you heard the last recommendation. We can work on that, please, ma'am? On the carriage house piece, the rental piece? I think the council's in agreement with that. All right. Council, any thoughts? Councilmember Beeson.
In response to the resident comments, I completely hear and understand both of you. I hear the concerns. Just from my perspective in terms of policy and what can be enforced and not creating a slippery slope, because we do have 93,000 some odd residents here in the city of Roswell. Fully supportive of the carriage house, the addition to your home. Love the idea of multi-generations of a family being able to live within the same property that you guys have owned since the 70s. In terms of the conditions that were put in place, I understand that these are concepts you're already going to subscribe to in terms of the evergreen and the screening. Understand completely from the neighbor wanting to have that buffer there as well. And understand that its intent is only for your family. But looking at implementing conditions as a matter of policy and moving forward in the precedent that it sets for other carriage houses that we on council may hear, I do have concerns about putting rental restrictions on a privately held property. To me, this is an item that would be better suited for a homeowners association to hear and have the homeowners association regulate on their own, as opposed to something that would be difficult to regulate within, again, a 93,000 resident city where we have a lot of different precedents that have been set before, and per our city attorney would make it difficult to enforce, especially if, as you said, the unlikely event that the property does change hands. So that being said, I'm fully supportive of the carriage house addition to this home, agree with the changes that you would like to implement on your own accord with keeping it within the family and the evergreen buffer, but would like council to consider striking the first condition: the carriage house shall only be occupied by family members and shall not be rented out, as it would be difficult to enforce and sets a difficult precedent in difference from our code moving forward.
Is that a motion you're making, Sarah?
Yes, I'll go ahead and make a separate motion in addition to this. So my motion would be to strike the first condition.
All right, so if I get to other comments, Sarah's made a motion to strike the first condition. Is there a second? There's not a second, so sorry, Sarah, that we'll move on.
No need for apology, I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so, yes, ma'am. Other comments or thoughts or questions from council on the overall matter at hand? Yes, ma'am. Councilmember
Yes,
Hills.
thank you. Not to belabor this, this has been a topic that's come up since the mayor, Councilmember Morthland, and I have been in office, so that's about 2.5 years. And I believe both homeowners have a lot of the same drive and initiative behind what you're trying to do. Councilmember Morthland and I are very familiar with your property, and I'm going to give you each my phone number. I would love to talk to you afterwards, just to kind of let you know where I am. And I really appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate what you're saying, and welcome that conversation. So you each have an ally in me, and I hope that doesn't sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, because I believe there's a lot of commonality there. So I'll find you in just a minute. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from council? Being that there aren't, or not, Willie, do you have a motion to make, sir?
Very, very quick question I have.
Yes, sir.
Here for Ms. Dybel. When we're bringing this forward, the staff recommendations on the 2 bullet points need to be stated, or is it understood?
Would indicate approving it if that's your choice with staff conditions.
Okay.
You need to state that in the motion.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thanks, sir. Willie, would you like to make a motion?
Motion to approve CU 2024-0905, 200 Sussex Court Carriage Pool House, along with the 2 staff recommendations that have
Thanks,
been
Willie.
presented.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second to the motion? Second by Councilmember Sells. All in favor of approving the motion as presented by Councilmember Morthland, please raise your hands. Let the record show that the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item is Councilmember Morthland as well, number 3. Willie?
Yeah. No, item number 3, text amendment to the UDC, Unified Developmental Code, UDC, regarding section 10.3.7, application content, first reading, presented by Jackie Dybel.
Thanks, Jackie. Before you read it, I think Mr. Davidson is going to read the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Code by modifying Article 10, Site Development, Section 10.3.7, Application Content. Now therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell, Georgia, pursuant to their authority, do hereby amend Article 10, Site Development, Section 10.3.7, Application Content of the Unified Development Code, the text of which is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this would be the first reading.
Thank you, David. Jackie, I think it's in your court.
So there's some background on this. This is text amendment to the Unified Development Code for 10.3.7, application content. This is the first reading. This was heard at the April 23rd, 2024 Community Development and Transportation Committee meeting. It was initiated on May 13th. It was heard by the Planning Commission on June 18th. The first reading is this evening, and the second reading has been advertised for July 22nd. This is the current code related to this. This is addressing number 3, talking about surveys requiring for all signage. What we're doing here is replacing that with this language in number 3 to state for freestanding signs, including ground sign, subdivision entrance sign, double post sign, and single post sign, a survey to scale is required. So instead of requiring them for wall signs and sandwich signs and things like that. So we're just requiring them for the ground signs that are required. And Planning Commission recommended approval of this text amendment during their meeting. Staff recommends approval of the first reading.
Thanks, Jackie. Council, any thoughts, comments, or questions? Being there none, any Roswell residents would like to weigh in on this matter? Being there none, bring it back to council for any final thoughts. Being none, Willie, do you have a motion that you'd like to make, sir?
Motion to approve text amendment to the Unified Development Code, UDC, regarding section 10.3.7, application content. First reading.
Thank you, Will. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councilmember David Johnson. All in favor of the motion as presented by Councilmember Morthland and Johnson, please raise your hands. Let the record show that the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item, Councilmember Morthland, item number 4.
Number 4, text amendment to the Unified Development Code, UDC, regarding section 13.12, administrative appeal, first reading, brought to us by
Thanks
Jackie
so
Diamond.
much. David, would you read the ordinance, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Code by modifying Article 13, Administration, Section 13.12, Administrative Appeal. Now therefore, the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, Georgia, pursuant to their authority, do hereby amend Article 13, Administration, Section 13.12, Administrative Appeal of the Unified Development Code, the text of which is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this would be the first reading.
Thanks, David. Jackie, ball's in your court.
Yes, this is also a text amendment to the Unified Development Code, Section 13.12, Administrative Appeal, the first reading. As stated in the last one, the background is the same. It was heard at committee on April 23rd, initiated by the mayor and council on May 13th, heard by the Planning Commission on June 18th. Tonight is the first reading. The second reading has been advertised for July 22nd. So this is the current code section. Currently in the code under administrative appeal, all appeals go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And also the other item that's being changed, and we'll get to that. So what we're changing here is removing the Board of Zoning Appeals and replacing it with the mayor and council, so that any type of appeal, any type of staff appeal will now come before, once this is adopted, will now come before the mayor and council. And under number 3, the other item we're changing is replacing the number 35 and changing it to 70 to give us more advertising time. So those are the 2 major changes related to this section, removing the BZA and replacing it with mayor and council, and adding, changing the number from 35 to 70 in order for a little bit more time for advertising. The Planning Commission heard this and recommended approval at their meeting in June. Staff recommends approval of the first reading of this text amendment.
Thanks, Jackie. Any thoughts, comments, or questions for Jackie, or comments? Yes, Councilmember Beeson.
I have a question. Inherent in the name Board of Zoning Appeals, if this is removed or administrative appeals are removed from going to the Board of Zoning Appeals and instead go to mayor and council, what items or types of items would the Board of Zoning Appeals hear instead?
So currently, they will still hear variances to stream buffers. Those are required to go as long as they're not the administrative ones. Administratively, we can do pools, decks, patios, and retaining walls less than 6 feet. All others would go to the board. They also can do setbacks. So currently, under administrative setbacks, the planning and zoning director can do up to 15 feet in the front, up to 10 feet in the rear, and 2 feet on the side. Anything larger than that, they would be required to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals has also heard numerous variances over the last few years on lot width requirements. So sometimes someone might be splitting a lot into 2, and the requirement might be 85 feet for both, and maybe they need 5 feet on each side. So they have had a few of those in the last, I'd say, 3 to 5 years. So there are still a good number of items that go before the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions for council? Thank you, Jackie. Any Roswell residents like to weigh in on this matter? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Jason Yowell, 5010 Old Oak Trace, Roswell, Georgia. I really just have a question. I'm wondering what the impetus was for this change. Was there an incident that precipitated it, or something else? That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks so much. Thank you. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from Roswell residents? Thank you so much. I'll bring it back to council for any additional thoughts, comments, or questions, or responses if you'd like. Thank you. Councilmember Mortland, do you have a motion you'd like to make, sir?
Yes, sir. Motion to approve text amendment to the Unified Development Code UDC regarding section 13.12, Administrative Appeal, first reading.
Thank you, Will. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councilmember Hills. Motion has been provided by Councilmember Mortland and seconded by Councilmember Hills. All in favor of passing this motion, please raise your hands. Let the record show that the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Councilmember Mortland, I believe you have item number 5, which is the last community development item for the evening, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
CU 2023-0197, CV 2023-0195. This is 400 Vickery Falls Drive, Mill Creek Place, approval for a 4th story on the stacked flat building, presented by Jackie Duggle.
Thank you, Will. Welcome, Jackie.
So this is a conditional use request, and I'm going to go through this because it's a little bit different than what we've had in the past related to this project. So, going too fast here. So here's the aerial of the project. It's located at 400 Vickery Falls Drive. And as you can see, this is the zoning is DX, downtown mixed use. As you can see from the aerial here, the foundation for this building was built back in 2006, between 2006 and 2008. And I'll get into the background here in a little bit. But as you can see across from it in the building 300 are existing townhomes. Across Vickery Falls Drive are also existing townhomes. So some background on this. The entire development was originally approved by right by the Historic Preservation Commission, originally in 2003, was modified in 2005, and then again in 2006. The development included 2 buildings with 6 townhomes each, 2 stacked flat buildings with 9 units each, and a commercial building located on the front parcel along Atlanta Street. In 2016, the mayor and council approved the rear stacked flat building to have an additional story, to go up to 4 stories, and 2 additional units at that time, for a total of 11 units. As stated before, the 2006 HPC approval included, for this building, a 3-story stacked flat building with 9 units. This is the 2006 site plan. As you can see on here, the foundation building, I know you can't really see this with the pointer, and it is not working anyway. A lot of issues with this thing tonight. Here, I'll go into it a little bit here. The proposed building is at the top. That's where the foundation is. Currently, the townhomes that are existing are the 6 townhomes across from that. And then the front parcel area is currently vacant where the commercial parcel will go. The original petition request was for conditional use for townhomes and 2 variances to reduce the rear setback and to increase the percentage of allowed parking and driveway area. The Planning Commission recommended denial of the townhouse request, but for the mayor and council to consider an additional story on the previously approved stacked flat building. The Planning Commission during that meeting requested that an elevation/rendering of the building be presented to the mayor and council. They also had these conditions when they made that recommendation: that the stacked flat building would be for residential only, no rooftop or amenity area above the 4th story. The original parking design should match the 2003 plan. The building shall not exceed 12 units. It shall be in substantial conformance with the original HPC plans. That they should provide a rough rendering of what the 4-story building would look like and provide it to the mayor and council. And the rendering shall show the height differential between the buildings 300, the road, and the 400 building. The applicant took that into consideration and submitted renderings for this project. So the revised petition is for the stacked flat building type, a conditional use for height for an additional story, and the additional 3 units. This is the revised petition information. So the distance that's incorrect at the top. So the distance between the existing townhome building 300 and the proposed stack flat building is actually 43 feet. So I'm sorry, that's a typo. It's 43. The renderings were submitted by the applicant to show the 4-story building. The existing 4-story stack flat building located in the rear of the development contains 11 units and it sits at a lower elevation. And we did request from the applicant that the units are proposed approximately right now at 2,700 square feet with a starting price point of $850,000. So provided below next are all the renderings that they showed to us. So the brown looking building is look at that as mass and scale only, not design. That is showing the 4 stories. This is from the street, from Atlanta Street, looking down onto the building next to the townhomes that are currently existing. Here's a close-up view again from the street. This is a close-up showing the pedestrian scale. The back area showing it. This is going down into the development from the back portion of there, showing how you can see it a little bit just topping over those townhomes. And this is further down into the development. You can see the roof line just sticking over the townhomes there. So staff recommendation. So the staff is recommending approval with conditions for the stack flat building to have the 4th story. We are using the Planning Commission recommendations with a couple of changes. The stack flat building shall be residential only. No roof deck or amenity area above the 4th story. The parking design should be used from the 2006 plan. The 2006 plan that I showed was the recorded plat. The stack flat building shall not exceed 11 units. The project shall be in substantial conformance with the 2006 HPC plans. And the architecture of the stack flat building shall resemble the existing stack flat building in the development as approved by the Historic Preservation Commission. So if approved by this mayor and council, this project will have to go to the Historic Preservation Commission for architectural and design approval. So what we've recommended is to try to match the development as best they can so that the architecture and feel would be the same. So those are staff's conditions. Do you have any questions for staff?
Thank you, Jackie. Council, any thoughts, comments, or questions for Ms. Dowell? Councilmember Sells.
Hey, Jackie, thank you. Thank you for that. You're trimming them back from 12 to 11, correct?
Yes, I went to 11 due to the fact that in 2016, the mayor and council approved a 4-story for the back stack flat building to go up to 11.
Okay.
So I figured that they should be the same.
All right. And remind me, that parcel that's in front of it is now separately owned by someone else, correct?
Yes, so the commercial parcel, which is right.
Your street view showed it pretty good, actually.
Oh, the street view, you want to see that? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So the commercial parcel in the
Right
front
there.
is owned by a different owner.
It is. And the reason that staff recommended this instead of the townhomes was primarily because if we built the townhomes, this piece of property would be basically derelict and unbuildable for commercial purposes.
That's true, yes. So staff recommended approval based on also the economic development team taking a look at that, determining that the plan here, which this is the best way to show it, here on this 2006 plan, you can see all the additional parking that was on there in that section behind the front building that's on the street there, which is the commercial building. The townhomes would have pretty much wiped out a lot of that additional parking. And this parking was part of the original development approval for not just the commercial building, but also as probably some guest parking here and there, just additional parking for the entire development. So based on what the economic development team took a look at, the Planning Commission made a recommendation to deny the townhouse request, but to give the opportunity for 4-story consideration to the mayor and council for this project.
So just to be clear, what we're saying is that we are trading the 4 stories for less square footage on the acreage so that we preserve the ability to build something on that front property that will, quite frankly, mask some of this. And this is all below grade. This elevation is below street level by how much? Do you have any idea?
Oh, that I'm not sure. You mean this this picture
Yeah.
here. I do not know how low that is. I'm sorry, I did not get that
Yeah,
information.
I think it's about 6 or 8 feet, if I recall.
It is down a little. It's not as low as the back building because it drops as it goes
Right,
down.
right. Okay.
But it is lower than street grade.
So just to be clear, what we're trying to do here is to make this an economic play as well as taking a blighted piece of property which has been in place for 15 years, yeah, and making it into something. So thank you for that, Jackie.
Welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Sells. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from council? Is the applicant here? Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Alex Brock with Smith Gambrell Russell, here on behalf of the applicant, ASIH, and I'll keep this brief. I think
Thanks,
staff did a good job of noting the facts and our application that's present and before you tonight, but there's a couple of things I just wanted to reiterate. That the architectural renderings that were submitted are for mass and scale only, as Ms. Dybel noted. We have not gone through the architectural design yet, but that will be reviewed by HPC one. The other point that I would like to make is that the request that's before you tonight is substantially similar and commensurate with what was approved by this body in 2016 for the lower stack flat building. We were just asking for a 4th floor to make the stack flat design buildable. And then the last point is just to say that, note that Planning Commission has recommended approval of the 4th floor. Staff has recommended approval with conditions of the 4th floor to the building. We are in general agreement with staff's conditions on this, and we ask that you approve this application as well. Thank you.
Alex, thank you for your presentation. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming before us. Do you want to ask Alex a question? Yeah, any questions for the applicant? Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, you speak for the developer, right?
Yes, that's
Are
correct.
you guys ready to go on this project? Are you money good and ready to roll? Where are you on this?
As far as the financing for the project, they are, but we still have another hurdle to get through, which is HPC. We wanted to get through this hurdle first before we went too far with architectural design of the building. So that will be our next step to move on this. And then once we get past HPC, the developer is ready to move.
All right, thank you. You don't have a commitment letter or anything of the sort yet from the bank?
Not that I'm aware of. The developer is not here tonight. I'm here on their behalf, but I'm not certain if they have or not.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, but Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. Will, the foundation, there has been some foundation work done. Is that going to be used, or is that going to be demoed and new footings put in?
The foundation has been in place for some time. We'll have to have our engineer take a look at the foundation and its condition, but our footprint of the building will remain substantially similar to what was approved in 2006. We're not asking for any changes to the site plan, so if the foundation is in good condition, we will plan on reusing the foundation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hall. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions for the applicant from council? Alex, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll ask for any Roswell residents who'd like to weigh in on this matter at this time. Welcome, sir. Please share with us your name and where you live in Roswell.
Jason Simmons. I live at 300 Victory Falls, so my courtyard opens up to the potential entrance of this building. I'm also the president of our OA. Pray for me tonight. So we have no strong feelings one way or the other about the 4th floor. We are encouraged, thanks to the Planning Commission, for pushing this developer to go with the original site plan, because as you can see, it provides more parking, it provides more, not really on this rendering, but more green space, and it just looks better than the townhomes that he previously submitted. So we're very happy about that. We have no strong, like I said, no strong opinions about the fourth floor. I did want to point out, though, that it did come up at the last Planning Commission meeting that the developer is delinquent on his taxes since 2017. We actually bumped into the sheriff. He had nowhere to tack it to the building because there isn't one, so he just stuck it under a rock. So it is there, so that came up. So we just want to make sure that gets satisfied, because if it doesn't, the letter says this is going to auction in September. So then what happens? Do we start this all over again? And as you can see by the staff recommendation and the history, this has been going on for a really long time. And so we really want this to get done. We just have some concerns around feasibility of that actually happening. And so just wanted to bring that up today. And then, sorry, notes in my phone. Yeah, so this is the actual site plan. So we'd like to understand, obviously down the road, once HPC approves it, what does that look like, and do we get some sort of opportunity to do that? And Alex has been in contact with us, so we feel pretty good about that. We just want to see that and make sure we're being good neighbors.
Jason, great point. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate
Alex, do you want to address that piece with the tax issue?
The developer is aware of the property taxes. He was in the process of getting that taken care of as far as the delinquent taxes. I'm unsure of the current status of that, but I will be certain to reach out to him.
You probably heard the question from Councilmember Sells, and what Councilmember Sells was, this project didn't have a full vetting by the ED team. I don't see Daryl here, but I see Deputy Director, Deputy City Administrator, whatever your title is, Jeff. And Mr. David Davidson to my right, Christina Hall, among others, Michelle, members of the ED team. And so one of the many things they're doing is creating a toolbox and a vetting process for development deals, so that these kind of projects, no disrespect to anybody here, that a project does not get this far along unless it's financially viable, banked, and that everybody understands where the leverage is going to come from before it even gets anywhere close to this body. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Jason, thanks. Alex, we have a vested interest in knowing that as well. Please, sir, if you would satisfy that for us. And I think to Alan's point, Alan, go ahead, sir.
Is your client the current title holder?
They are, yes.
So they're the ones that are delinquent on the taxes?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Appreciate it, sir. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from council? I do? On the public. Scott? Yeah. I'd already moved on, but for you, Scott. Okay, and I can see. So, Scott, you're one of the great residents here. I see Jason Yao, a great resident here. I see the young lady I should know in the name from Peaches in a Pit. I'm sorry. So just a little word, and Randy's going to put this out.
Party.
So you guys all came in late, okay? So in the future, council meetings, mayor and council meetings are going to request that people be here on time. And if you come in late, you're not going to be able to speak. Just FYI. Tonight, notwithstanding, because you didn't get a previous knowledge. I just say that to you, Scott, because you're one of the great residents of our city. And obviously, I just want to make you know that, like, we think it's important that you're here for the meeting, you're here beginning the meeting. If you're not here for the beginning of the meeting, you kind of lose your ability to have speaking privileges. Just FYI. Thanks so much. Your turn.
Yeah, thanks for the heads up. Yeah, my question was just, it looks like a great modification to the original application. My question was just about whether we believe that residents will be allowed to own these units, and if we do, if we are interested in doing something similar to what we did at Old Alabama, of ensuring that with some language to make sure that people will be allowed to buy them, because we learned our lesson at Southern Post. People approving it believed it was for sale, the townhomes for sale, they got absorbed into the, same thing happened at East Village and even Vickers, when there was a strong belief by all involved that it would be, residents would be allowed to own and weren't. So would we be willing to add similar language for this one? That's my only question. Thank you.
Scott, thank you for the question, sir. Councilmember Beeson?
Ms. Dybel, if I'm not mistaken, last year when we updated some of our language in the code, wasn't it defined that apartments were for rent and stack flat, or condos were defined as for own?
Cat. Sorry. Just for the record, Sarah, while Jackie's looking, restate the question. Sorry.
I thought we could listen to the musical stylings of like Risky Biscuit while we waited.
That's right.
My question was last year when I remember we had some update to the code language, or we heard it, and I assume it got through final approval, that we had language added that had defined apartments as for rent and condos and stacked flat as to own. But I can't remember for sure if we got through all of the final readings for that and we're good. Because otherwise I think that would automatically take care of Mr. Long's concern, which is because the reason it's defined as stacked flat condos, it would be automatically for sale.
Sarah, good memory. We did address that last year. I do believe the body addressed that. I believe the body voted and approved exactly what you just said. Jackie, you can't find that off the top of your head.
I'm not finding it off the top of my head, but I do recall it, and I also remember something related to the fact that if somebody wanted to change apartments to condos, they would go through a process, but if they wanted to change condos to apartments, they had to go through council and everything else. That was part of it as well. I'm just not finding it right at the second in my code book.
So do you need an answer on that question from tonight?
No, I'm fine. I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Long's concerns were addressed, but I don't need an immediate answer.
So with the council's permission, let's make sure we follow up on this, Michelle, and get clarity on that. And if it's not, it sounds like it's something that needs to be brought to the body, initiated and brought to the body. Jackie, you good? Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from any other residents? I apologize if I pulled it too quick. Okay. Sorry, Scott. Sorry to, just to bust you up and pug like that, but can't help it. Hey, all right. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from council? Okay, on this matter. So, Will, it's now in your hands. Would you like to make a motion, sir?
Do we need an answer to this?
To this question here?
To this last piece?
No, I think that's why I asked Sarah. So Sarah said, no, she doesn't need an answer.
Well,
So
should we amend this to include this stipulation, just in case it's not there, or are we being redundant? I guess that's a question for David.
To your point, we're ignorant of the redundant question right now, I think, because I don't think we can answer whether it's redundant or not.
So is there any harm in adding this as a?
Yeah, so I think, to your point, Alan, would you like to make a motion to make an amendment on that to add the piece?
Or do I have to say what the amendment needs to say?
Just, you don't have to give specific legalese. I think the spirit will be understood.
Right, so I propose an amendment that we include as a stipulation for this approval that the units be for sale and held by individuals.
Outstanding. Thank you. I think that's pretty clear.
Is that
motion made by
does that work for you?
That's the spirit, right? We understand the spirit of this. And the literal sense of that is these are for sale, not to be for rent, correct?
Right,
Okay.
but we do have an instance where they were sold but they were all sold together and still rentals. So the point is that they need to be held by occupants, owner occupied.
Yes.
Is that better put, David? Help me out here, brother.
Owner occupied is good.
Owner occupied, so that they need to be
So the
owner occupied.
amendment is that the approval is, the amendment is for these to be owner occupied.
Jackie, right?
Right?
Yep. Yes,
Okay.
sir. That's
So a motion's been made by Councilmember Sells to
poorly,
make,
but yes.
yes, well, very well, that these be owner occupied and adding it to the language of this particular matter at hand. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Hills. On just that amendment by Councilmember Sells of it being owner occupied, please show me a hands who supports the motion, the amendment. Let the record show that the amendment is 6-0, it's unanimous. So let the motion now, Councilmember Mortland, have the amendment added to it that the approval of the fourth story of the stacked steel flat building require owner occupation.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Motion to approve CU 2023-0197, CV 2023-0195, 400 Vickery Falls Drive, Mill Creek Place. Approval for a fourth story on the stacked flat building to include the staff recommendations that were stated at the end of this presentation, along with the most recent update that these units will be for sale as owner occupied.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Mortland. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Councilmember Johnson. All in favor of this motion with the amendment stated by Councilmember Mortland and approved by the council unanimously, please raise your hands. Let the record show that this motion passes unanimously along with the amendment as well. Thanks so much. All right, next item. Okay. We go to the city attorney's report. David, looks like you got an interesting item for us tonight.
That's right. Thank you, Mayor. The first item I have is a resolution to establish the City of Roswell Public Facilities Authority. During the last general session, the legislature passed House Bill 1501, which created a Roswell Public Facilities Authority. This would be the enabling legislation passed by the city to create such authority.
Outstanding. Where's Katrina Singletary? Where's this council all here? Where's this staff? Got to tell you, let me share with the residents, my fellow residents. Katrina Singletary single-handedly kind of put together a massive legislative effort supported by this council and supported by the senior staff and throughout the city to help get this PFA passed in this past legislative session with very much the interest of the city of Roswell in mind. So a lot of really hard work that really showed up. Anyway, we got to talk about it and see if it gets by us. All right. Does council have any questions or comments on the establishment of the city of Roswell's PFA, Public Facilities Authority? Councilmember Sells, do you have any? No? Anybody else? Councilmember Beeson?
For clarity, because I think the last time that we originally discussed this was prior to the general session, it was going to be an appointed Public Facilities Authority, and correct me if I'm wrong, this might be a Randy question, a Mr. Knighton question. There's a Public Facilities Authority in cities of like Alpharetta, Sandy Springs. Most of the surrounding cities already have an established Public Facilities Authority, correct?
Yeah, many cities do use public facilities authorities to help leverage bond issuances for civic and city-owned properties.
And then to confirm, because this has evolved a little bit, so now it's going to be comprised of mayor and council and one member of the resident, correct?
That is correct.
And we will still be required, as such, to be able to still have public meetings on the record with minutes and it's streamed, correct?
Right, public facilities authorities meet in an open session unless specifically authorized via some type of closure session. But yes, they operated with open meetings.
And the closure session still follows the same rules, which is real estate, pending litigation, and personnel, correct?
Yes.
All right, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions from council on the PFA? Thanks so much. See your hand, like you want to say something, Michelle? I can't tell. Okay. Any Roswell residents who would like to weigh in on the resolution to establish a City of Roswell PFA? Yes, sir.
Jason Yowell, 5010 Old Oak Trace. I don't have comments so much as I have questions. Main question is, what is the purpose of this authority? Will it have the ability to issue bonds? If it does have the ability to issue bonds, will it have to go before the public for a vote to authorize a bond issue? Or is this authority outside of that necessity for public approval? Why do we even need a authority like this when we've already done a big bond issue? It's not clear. Nobody has explained to the public what the purpose of this is, what it's going to do, what the limitations are, and I'd like to know. I'm sure other people would like to know as well. I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time. I'm just hoping that maybe somebody can answer these questions.
Thank you, Mr. Yao. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your time. Any other Roswell residents like to weigh in on the resolution to establish the City of Roswell Public Facilities Authority? Being there none, I bring it back to council for any additional thoughts, comments, or any things you'd like to address. Yes, sir, Councilmember Sells.
I'll try to take a couple of those. The PFA is not an operating entity, so it truly is. You are correct. It does offer bonds. It can offer bonds. It is a financing vehicle. Revenue bonds in particular. So as the city gets in position to do things that, speaking for myself, not for the council, but speaking for myself, I mean, one of my goals is to see Roswell residents not paying property taxes before I leave office. And the only way that happens is if we have revenue through other economic opportunities. And so this is a step towards that. It has, like I said, it has no operating authority, and these have to be public facilities, think parking decks and those kinds of things, or stadiums and those kinds of things. That's the purpose.
Ellen, thanks. Anything else you want to say? Any further? John, David, anything you want to say? Lee? Sarah? Willie? Christine?
I just want to add that this is a tremendous opportunity for Roswell, our cities, Sandy Springs, Atlanta, and many, many other cities use their PFAs to really help offset the burden on the residential taxpayers. So very, very exciting that Katrina was able to get the delegation together and to get it through the state.
Thanks, Christine. Mr. Knighton, you want to weigh on this at all? You spent a little bit of time working on this.
Yeah, no, I certainly think, obviously, Katrina did a great job. Yeoman's work working through the state legislature to have something like this approved. In previous experiences I've had, PFAs have also been used for other civic buildings like amphitheaters, for instance. And I believe Sandy Springs used a PFA vehicle for their City Springs project as well. And so many cities, if properly leveraged and utilized, certainly can be a great asset and a benefit ultimately to the residents for obtaining additional revenue sources via a public facilities authority.
Thank you, Randy. David, anything else you want to say on your part? Okay, you've said a lot tonight. All right. This is a resolution to establish a City of Roswell Public Facilities Authority. Is there a motion to, yes, Councilmember Hall? Motion to approve. Motion to approve the resolution to establish a City of Roswell Public Facilities Authority made by Councilmember Hall. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Sells. All those in favor of approving this motion to establish a resolution to establish a City of Roswell Public Facilities Authority, please raise your hands. Let the record show that the resolution passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And congratulations to the senior staff. Well done. To council, and to Katrina, and to the City of Roswell, and to our residents. Mr. Davidson, would you read the last item under the city attorney reports, please, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. The final item I have is a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel litigation and/or real estate.
Do I have a motion for closure? Motion for closure made by Councilmember Ortland. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Johnson. All those in favor of moving to closure, please raise your hands. Let the record show that the motion for closure passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Being that there are no other items, this mayor and council meeting of July 8th, 2024 is adjourned. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. Thank you.
Mayor, do any